ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तन्मयादितरतश्चार्थेषु तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 32, beginning from verse number 9. Lord Kapila's teachings to his mother Devhuti, and he is explaining the situation of people who follow Vedic Dharma. And said there are two divisions of them: those who follow this dharma with the intention of fulfilling their material desires, which are of two types basically: to get some object or position in the material world, some good situation, or to want some dollars, kama and artha, and these days euros also. And there are others who follow dharma only because it is their duty and not for any material gain. So he explained two destinations of these two people. One, they go to the moon, and the other go to the sun, or the path of darkness and path of light. So those who go to the path of light, ultimately they reach Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, which is the highest planet in the universe, where Lord Brahma is residing, the first being, and who created the world on order of Lord Vishnu. So they live with him and they worship Hiranyagarbha, and Brahma himself stays for a period called Parardha. Then it is time for him also to leave. So that is being described in the next two verses. Se kshamambho nalanil viyanmanindriyartha bhutadibhi parivrutam pratisanjihirshuhu avyakritam visteyarhi gunatrayatma kalam parakhyam parah swayambhu. Evam paretya bhagavantam anupravishta ye yogino jitamarun manaso viragaha tainaiva sakam amritam purusham puranam brahma pradhanam upayanti gatabhimana. So it says that after the time called para, which is the lifespan of Brahma, Brahma's life is divided in two, and each is called parardha. So now this is the second parardha, second half of Brahma's life now. He is 51-year-old, and first day of his 51st year. So when he completes his life called para, Bhakhyam Bhuya Parah Swayambhu, then he desires to give up this covering, Pratisanjihirshu, and he has the covering of earth, water, fire, air, sky, minds, senses, etc. And then there is Avyakrit, or material nature. So all this composed of three gunas, he gives up this. And then where does he go? Evam paretya bhagavantam anuprashmishta. Then he enters into the body of Lord. And the yogis who were meditating, Jit Marun Manaso Viraga, who were controlling their pranavayu, so they also go along with him. Till that time they stay there. And why they go with him? Because before that they had not become free of their abhiman or ego. So Tenaiva Sakam Amritam Purusham Puranam Brahma Pradhanam Upayanti. Along with him they also enter the Supreme Person, who is Param, or beyond the material nature. And he is the oldest, and he is superior to Pradhana. So this is the destination, final destination. People like to travel to different places, and there are advertisements given about different flights available, right? Also discount rates, seasonal rates. So here also some advertisement is being given if you want to travel beyond the earthly planet, and what all you need to carry with you. So you can go beyond the universe also, not just traveling within the universe, but you can go outside. You do Hiranyagarbha Upasana, then you will reach there. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Tatasya Mahapralaya Sati Brahma Muchyate. So in the previous verses there was a description of Pralaya, which happens at the end of Brahma's day. And there it was described that the Triloki is destroyed. This Bhurvasva, the lower three systems. But the upper four planets are not destroyed. So all these people, they enter into Brahma's body. Then Brahma sleeps. They also take rest. Then they are again coming out. But when Brahma himself dies and he gives up the body, then he enters into Mahavishnu. And everybody goes there. So that is called Mahapralaya, or Great Dissolution. Tatascha Mahapralaya Sati Brahma Muchyate. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that when it is time for Mahapralaya, then Brahma becomes liberated. Shamadibhi parivrita swadeham varajam prati sanjahirshu tyaktum ichu. So then he desires to give up his body, which is called Vairaja. And that is covered by all these material elements. His body is also made of this. Avyakritam Parmeshwaram Prakriti Antaryaminam Vishati. So where does he go? He enters into Avyakritam. Avyakritam is the immanent personality of Prakriti. Guntrayatma Rajogunopadhikopi Triguna. So he himself is called here as Gunatrayatma, because although Brahma is supposed to be having the upadhi of Rajogun, he is in charge of Rajogun, but he has the other two gunas also. So when does he desire this? It says Parakhyam Dviparardha Lakshanam Kalam Gyatva. When he understands that his 100 years are over, so then he desires to give up his body. Evam brahmano muktaopi tadupasaka bhakti abhavat na muchyante iti aha. So what about the other people who are living with him? What happens to them? So he says that they are not liberated because they don't have bhakti. Only if you have bhakti you can become liberated, otherwise you can live even with Brahma and enter into the body of Mahavishnu. You will come back from there. So in the Vedanta Sutra it is described that when we sleep at night, then we are with the Lord, right? Then we wake up and we come out. So according to Vedanta Sutra, we are with the Lord every night. Forget everything. So being with the Lord or not being with the Lord is with consciousness, awareness. If the bhav is not there, then it does not help. The Lord is there anywhere, everywhere. So therefore he says that bhakti abhavat. There is pragabhava of bhakti. Which type of abhava is this? It is pragabhava, because it can come. So they do not have bhakti, therefore they don't become liberated. Without bhakti no one can get out of this material world. So there is a famous saying that Jnanam vinana mritim saranti. Without Jnana, one cannot transcend the material world, but Jnana means bhakti, because bhakti is the complete Jnana. Bhakti has Jnana and Vairagya, complete Jnana, complete Vairagya only in Bhakti. Everywhere it is incomplete, because Brahma Jnana is also incomplete. Jiva Goswami say that Brahma Jnana is asamyak Jnana, because one does not know the varieties, the qualities, the pastimes of the Lord. And just like the sun, before it appears on the horizon, there is dawn, reddish. So by that you don't know how the sun looks and what are its qualities. So he says that Brahman realization is asamyak, incomplete. Evamiti, so paretya brahmaloke eva deham tyaktva bhagvantam brahmanam anupravishtaha ye yoginas te teneva brahmena eva sakam puranam purusham parameshwaram pradhanam utkrishtam brahma upayanti pravishanti. So they enter into the body of Brahma, they give up and they go to the Supreme Person, these yogis who are living there, because they have followed the path of light Teneva Brahmena Eva Sakam Puranam Purusham Paramesham Pradhanam. So this is Utkrishta Brahma. This is not the Gaun Brahma or the material Brahma. So they go there, but they don't become liberated. Why is that? Because there it is said that Agata Abhimana, Pradhanam Upiyanti Agata Abhimana. Because they have not surrendered completely. And if they are not surrendered completely, then they cannot become liberated. Hiranya Garbha Upasaka iti Abhimanavanta Tena Parmeshware Tesham Atyantiko Nalaya Kintu Prakritika Eva iti Tena Punarjagat Sarge Tesam api Sarva Bhavati iti Bhava. So because as long as one will have the independent ego that I am independent of God or Brahman or whatever, then one cannot become liberated. So even they enter into the body of the Lord, then they do not attain the ultimate goal. Only Prakritik Laya, means their material bodies are dissolved. And then when the next cycle of creation occurs, then they again come out. Because they all will be born. And then again stay for another cycle, unless they take to devotion. So in the Yoga Sutras there is a description of people who become dissolved in Prakriti, and there they can stay for a very, very long time. But they again come out and take birth. So this is the situation of these people. So then what is to be done? After describing these two destinations, he is giving his advice to his mother. He says, Athatam sarva bhutanam hrit padmeshu kritalayam srutanubhavam sharanam braja bhavena bhamini. So he is saying that, oh my dear mother, therefore, now what you have to do is that you take shelter of the Lord, who has taken his seat in the heart of all beings, and whom you have understood by hearing from me. So this is how Lord Kapila is now bringing bhakti. He is not telling her to follow any of these paths. So he says, you forget all this and take to devotion. Atha iti, why he is saying atha? He says, Yasmad bhaktim vinana ke api nistaranti atastvam tameva bhagvantam sharanam bhaja. Says because without bhakti no one can get out of the material world. Therefore take shelter of the Lord. So he bhavini mai parveshware putra bhagavati titvai bhakti upadesa pishta pesrupa eviti bhava. So there are two readings. One is bhamini, which means referring to the mother as a lady. Another is bhavini. So bhavini means who has bhav, means devotion or love. So Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that the meaning is that you are my mother and I am the Lord. You think I am your son. Therefore there is no need for me to instruct you about bhakti. What bhakti can I instruct you? So this is just like grinding the paste. Have you ever ground paste? No?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel?
Well, it depends on what you're grinding.
No,
If
any
it's something
paste.
very hard or something very soft.
No,
it's
paste,
different.
grinding the paste. Not
Grind the paste.
What is this? Grinding the paste? I don't understand. What is it?
Paste is already something which is.
You make a paste of something, right? And then you grind the paste again.
It's very soft at that point.
No, it's completely soft already.
What you grind.
That is called useless activity.
Oh, okay.
In Sanskrit, these are statements. It is called pishta-pesham. And they want to say something is useless or without any purpose because you already made a paste, then you are again grinding it. It's already paste. That is called making paste out of paste. And the Sanskrit word is also close to paste, is pishta. Pishta is called paste.
And pesto, in Italy there is a paste made out of basil. This is pesto.
Pesto, yes, pesto.
Must be very pesto. Pesto.
आद्य स्थिरचराणां यो वेदगर्भः सहर्षिभिः योगेश्वरैः कुमाराद्यैः सिद्धैः योगप्रवर्तकैः. So now, how these people come out? ज्ञान धर्म फलांस्तत्र भोगान् मुक्त्वा लये पुनः नारायणं समाविश्य ज्ञान व्यक्तं निजं सुखम्. भेददृष्टाभिमानेन निस्संगेन कर्मणा कर्तृत्वात् सगुणं ब्रह्म पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभम्. So he says that then Brahma, who is called Vedagarbha, who has the knowledge of the Vedas, so he again manifests. And how he manifests? Says along with the sages headed by Marichi, Yogeshwaras, Sankadis and the Siddhas. So although he has attained the Saguna Brahma, means the Supreme Lord, not the Nirguna Brahma. And here Saguna Brahma is superior to Nirguna Brahma. So he says that because of ego of doership by the will of the Lord, when it is time for creation, then he comes back again. Sasansritya punay kale kalena ishwar murtina jate gunvati kare yatha purvam prajayate. And like before, he takes birth again, being impelled by the power of time, which is energy of the Lord. So these verses explain that Brahma is also coming back. But in commentary we will read that there are two types of Brahmas. Some become liberated and some take birth. There are sometimes Brahma, that he is Brahma now, and then again in the next cycle he will become Brahma. And they can go on becoming Brahma like that. That is also possible. So that is being described. Nanu Brahma Mukto Bhaved Athacha Svabhaktan Mochetum Naishte Iti Katham Pratim. So he says that Brahma becomes liberated but does not desire to, or is it that Lord does not desire to liberate his devotees? So how do we know? So he says that Mameva ye prapadyante mayam hitam tarantite iti bhagavad pratigya suter bhaktim vina brahmapi sansaranti ke punaranye varakarati. So the question raised is that what is the principle basically? That Brahma becomes liberated or not liberated, or the other people become liberated or not liberated. So what is the law? How do we know? So he says that the simple rule is given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam taranti. That only those people who surrender to God, they can become liberated, otherwise not. So even if Brahma, who is the topmost person in this universe, if he does not surrender to Krishna, then he has to take birth again. Although he is not born like an ordinary person, he is born from Lord himself directly. But even he has to come back. So therefore in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Abrahma Puna Bhuna Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. That every place is a place of return up to Brahmaloka, including Brahmaloka. It's Abhividhi and not Maryada.
But in his position that he has to know exactly what is the plan or the desire of the Lord, give the body to everybody, he has to have all this knowledge. He cannot act independently from the Lord? Oh yes.
Nobody can act independently.
Nobody, but in that sense, if he's doing something according to his wish, let's say.
Yeah, but if he doesn't want to be devoted,
Okay, because everybody is free. I mean, he will do it for the Lord automatically without the Bhakti.
it's like the Devas, they are also doing
Automatically, yeah.
their
Okay.
duties under Lord.
Okay.
So if you want to escape, you can
You
escape.
can escape. Even if you are born from the Lord itself.
So therefore he says that Bhaktim Bina Brahmapi Sansarti. Without Bhakti even Brahma has to come back. Then what to speak of all other petty beings. Adhyaha sthircharanam srashtritvat karan rupo api vedagarbha sarv vedvidapi ऋषिभिर मरीच्यादिभिरपि सहयोगिभिः साधकैः सहैति किम वक्तव्यम योगेश्वरैः सिद्धैरपि सह. So although he is the Vedagarbha, means he knows all the Vedas, and although he is the one who creates all the mobile and immobile beings in this universe, and thus is the cause of all this creation. After Lord, he creates, and he, although he is the father of Marichi and all these great sages, and he is along with all the great yogis and even Siddhas, Yogeshwaras, Kumaras, he comes back with all of them. So, and again the same type of creation. Without bhakti, it's not possible. भेद दृष्ट्या यथा रुद्रः संहरति विष्णुः पालयति तथा अहमपि ब्रह्म सृजामि इति भगवतः सकाशात् भेद दृष्ट्या यो अभिमान तेन यत् कर्तृत्वं सृष्टित्वं तस्मात् सगुणं कल्याण गुणमयं ब्रह्म महत् सृष्टारं काले महाप्रलय काले प्रविश्य पुनः कालेन गुण व्यतिकरे महत् तत्त्वादौ जाते सति यथा पूर्वं प्रजायते ब्रह्म भवति. So what is the cause for this? The only cause is the Bheda Drishti. That Abhed is not only in Mayavad, Advaitavad, but here also. But it is a different type of Abhed. Oneness. Oneness with the Lord in the sense that we are His servants and we are not independent of Him. So if one thinks that I am independent and I am an independent creator, as Shiva may think that he is an independent destroyer. So if he thinks that just like Shiva is creating and destroying and Vishnu is maintaining, I am also the creator. This keeps him tied to the material world. So then what happens that because of this Bheda Drishti, this ego of doership, because anyone who thinks that he or she is the doer, then they have to get the result of their activities. You cannot escape this. So whoever does action, then karma catches on to that person. This is how karma sticks. And if you say that I don't do it, then karma leaves you. So if Brahma thinks that he is the creator, then he has to take birth again and be the creator again. Go on doing again and again. So then when it is time, because these living beings, they merge into the body of Mahavishnu for a specific time. They are not there eternally. And when that time is over, and it is time for the next cycle of creation, then Mahatattva appears, and then Brahma comes. Then this golden egg that comes out. So everybody is born from the egg. People ask which came first, egg or the chicken. So now you know that first came the egg.
Did Brahma create the egg?
Hmm?
Who created the egg?
Mahavishnu.
It's Krishna.
So first comes the egg. Now don't be in confusion. And chicken comes later. So this is called Andeka Fanda. ये है अंडे का फंडा भाई. So first this egg is created, then Brahma comes out of that, and then he is creating everything else. तेपि तत्संगिनो महर्षियादयोपि कर्म ज्ञान योगादि विनिर्मितम् अणिमाद्येश्वर्यादिकं पूर्वं महाकल्पे एव निषेव्य पुनर्महाकल्पान्ते यान्ति. And then all these sages who had followed the path of karma, jnana and yoga, and they have attained many mystic powers, then they also come back with him and attain the same powers and again become his associates. So there are basically two types of people who go to Brahmaloka. Those who are devotees and follow the path of Krama Mukti, and those who are not devotees but they follow Karma, Gyan Marg, Yog Marg. They reach there and then they enter into Brahma's body when it is time for him to leave the universe, and then again come back with him and take again birth here from Brahma. So now he is raising a question. Nanu Yogeshwaranam Sanat Kumaradinam cha Siddhanam Anyanam Anyasham cha Yoga Pravartakatvena Sarvagyan Gurinam cha Katham Bheda Drishtir Abhimanava Sambhavet. So he says, how is it possible that great personalities like Sanat Kumar, who were very learned, they are yogis, they are jnanis, realized souls, they are called Siddha, and they are the teachers for others, yoga pravartakas, they teach yoga to others. Sarva Jnani Gurunam cha, they are the gurus of all other jnanis. So how is that they can have Bheda Drishti or independent thinking or ego that they are the doer? How is this possible? That they have to again come back. This does not make sense. Otherwise, what kind of jnani are they? And what are they teaching to others? And if they are not liberated, then who else will be liberated? So he says, listen. Tabhyam sthitabhyam cha katham yogeshwaraditam. And then he further asks the question that if they are like this, then how they can be even called Yogeshwaras? That they are the masters of yogas. What is their mastery anyway? Is it just doing some yoga asanas or what? So Uchyate, he says, listen to me. Tesham nirabhimaninam nirved brahma anusandhanam asti eva. Kintu bheda vyudase bhagavati api maya sablit brahma vad buddhya mayik vastuanta vad bheda drishti तथा वयम ब्रह्मानुभविनः साकारं रूपं निषिध्यामः इत्यभिमानं च ताभ्याम् एव दोषाभ्यां यत् कर्तृत्वं कर्माधिकारे तस्माद् आवृत्तिरित्येतच्च क्वचित् ब्रह्मांडवर्ती ब्रह्म ब्राह्मणो योगी ज्ञान कुमारादीनां भक्तत्वानुक्तम्. So he says that they definitely have no ego, and they also meditate on Brahman, thinking one with Brahman. But they have one problem. And one problem is that they think that Bhagavan, who is different from Brahman, he is under the control of Maya. Maya sablit brahmat buddhya. Maik vastu antar vad bhed drishti. So although they have kicked away all bheda, but they think that Bhagavan, including Krishna, is a product of Maya. They think that Brahman, when it is covered by Maya in Sattva-guna, becomes Bhagavan. So because of this, they have to remain in the material world. So Bhakti Mudasya Shreyasritim Bhakti Mudasya Te Prabhu. Shreyam Sritim Bhakti Mudasya Te Yogo Jnanam Prayasa. So those people who give up bhakti and they make an effort for jnana. So aruya kritshrena param padam patanti anad yuspadam. Because they disregard the lotus feet of the Lord, then they have to again come down. Kleshale eva sishyate yatha sthula tusav ghatinam. So they do not get out. Why? Vayam brahmanubhavina sakar rupam nisidhyam. They say that we are Brahman realized and we will deny the form to the Lord. So this is the ego, and because of these two defects, dosabhyam yat kartritvam karmadhikaras tasmad avritti. So one is that they have the thing that we are the doer, in the sense that we have experienced Brahman and we will deny the form to the God. So because of that they have to again come back. But this does not happen to all the Brahmas or all the Sanat Kumaras, only in some Brahmanda. It says Kvachit Brahmandavarti Brahma Brahmana Yogi Gyan Kumaradinam Abhaktatva. This verse is spoken not in general, it is not applicable to all Brahmandas. In some particular one or two Brahmanda, it may happen like that. Tadanya sarva brahmandavarti nam brahmadinam tesham tu bhakti matvan mukti prem bhakti bhagavad dasyadi bhav prapto yathatham bhakti tatam. Says, but in all other Brahmandas, means in all other universes, the Brahma, the Kumaras and all, they are all devotees of the Lord, and they may have desire for mukti or for prema bhakti or dasya bhav, so accordingly they will reach their destination. So in other words, what he is saying is that there are maybe few universes where Brahma may not be a devotee, and correspondingly those who are his associates or those who are worshipped, they are also not devotees, and they are the one who have to come back again to the material world, even after Brahma leaves his body. But in general, Brahma is a devotee, and so are the other associates of Brahma. And depending on what kind of devotee he is or others are, then correspondingly they will have their destination. So he says that this verse is speaking about only some specific universes, not all the universes at once. So he said that sasansritya puna kale kaleneshwar murtina jate gunavati kare yatha purvam prajayate. So he takes birth like before when there is a transformation of the gunas by the influence of Lord in the form of time. And Ashwaryam Parameshtam cha tepi dharma vinirmitam. He has the same position like before and all the Ashwarya. And the other sages, they also come back with him. And they also have their opulence. So this is the situation of these people. So why it happened, that was explained. Bhed drishtya abhimanena nisangena pi karuna kartritvat sagunam brahma purusham. So this bhed drishti is very important to understand. He also spoke this earlier and he is speaking it again. So to think that we are independent of God. Most people may not have knowledge about God, so they are naturally thinking that they are independent. And there are people who understand that there is God and the universe is created by God, but still they feel that they are independent. So unless this feeling of independence, because nobody is independent, that is a fact. It's only a feeling. And no one can stop you from that thought. So as long as we will have this misconception that we are independent of God, then we will remain in the material world. Even if we go up to Brahmaloka. So this Bheda Drishti, this separatist vision, and then correspondingly comes the Abhiman or the ego that I am the doer. I have attained my position because of my own power. So then these two things will keep us blind to the material world. No matter how high we go. Then he continues about the other people. Says if this is the situation of those who are worshipping Brahma, then what to speak of the materialistic people about whom he has already spoken, who are attached to the fruits of their results very grossly. So he says, Yetu hiya asakta manasa karmasu sadhyanvitaha kurvanti apratisiddhani nityanyapi cha kritsnasaha. He says, those people who are attached to pleasures here and attached to works and the results of works, and they are devoted to the Shastric injunction. They have faith in the Vedas, the ritualistic part of the Vedas, which is prescribing to perform activities for material gain. So what do they do? He says, they perform Kamya Karma, Nitya Karma, and Naimittika. So they perform regular duties. There are certain ritualistic activities or sacrifices or chanting of the mantras which are prescribed to be done daily, like Sandhya Vandana. chanting of Gayatri by the Dvijas, twice born. They may also perform some Namittika, incidental.
Okay.
Some child is born, or there is Shraddha period, or somebody dies. They may also perform some activities for specific desire, kamya, they are interested in attaining. And then they do not perform the forbidden, apratisiddhani. So there are kamya karmas and there are also nisiddha karma, forbidden duties. So this is how they engage their life. So what happens to them who are spending time like this? So it says, yatra bhakti abhave sati brahmadinam api evam avritti tatra kamya karminam kasyam lekhayam sthiti tan nindanaha sadvi. Says if even Brahma, being devoid of bhakti, have to come back, then what can be written about the kamya karmis, the materialistic people? He says, kasyam lekhayam sthiti. He says, where do they stand, basically? He says, what account can be given? So he says, the Lord speaks 6 verses to criticize such people. Apratisiddhani kamyani nityani api sarvani eva karmani kurvanti. So they perform all activities which are not forbidden, which are prescribed, regular duties within body. He says even they are criticized here. What to speak of people who are performing forbidden duties, forbidden acts. These people are very pious. They are not doing anything which is illegal, not prescribed. They are following the Vedic injunction. But even they are criticized because of their bheda drishti, because they want to remain independent and enjoy. So tepi nindyante kimut vikarmani karmani. So then what to speak of those who are engaged in vikarma? So there is karma, akarma, vikarma, kim karma, kim akarma iti. So Krishna says, what is karma, what is akarma? All this, people are very much confused. So by performing karma, one has to have rebirth. Karmana Pitriloka, in the Shruti said. And by performing karma, you go to Pitriloka, so karmana. Then again come back. Go to Pitriloka, then you come to daughter loka, son loka. So if you perform forbidden duties, they are not duties, forbidden activities, then you go down to the lower planets, hell. If you perform the prescribed duties, nitya karma, then you go to Pitriloka. And if you perform kamya karma, you go nowhere. Where can you go? You don't want to go anyway. So the real defect therefore is kama, this desire. Whether you want it here or you want it in next life. So this is what keeps, and why is it there? Because no control over the senses. Ajitendra. So avrito jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairana. This kama is like the burning fire. and it covers us. Dhuvine avrito vanni yatha garbholvani. So just as the smoke covers the fire, or the womb covers the baby, or the mirror is covered by the dust, like that the intelligence becomes covered by calm. Then we cannot see things properly. So then people do all these rituals. So Rajasa Kuntha Manasa Kamatma no Jitendriya Pitri Nijanti Anudinam Grihesu Aviratshaya. So because of this because Rajas gives lobha, greed for more and more desires. Lobha and moha come from Rajas. So then the person is called here as Kamatma. His very self becomes as if made of kama, desires only. He's only wandering in the desires. And Ajitendriya has no control over the senses. Then Pitrin Yajanti Anudinam, they regularly worship forefathers. It's prescribed. And Grihesu Avirata Ashaya. So he remains engaged only in the materialistic activities, household activities. But they don't take any interest in anything. Traivargikaste Purusha Vimukha Hari Medashaha Kathayam Kathniyo Uruvikramasya Madhudvisha. So they perform activities only for three varga, dharma, artha and kama, and they remain averse to hearing about the Lord. Their intelligence does not take interest. Kathayam Kathniyo Uruvikramasya Madhudvisha. The Lord, whose activities we should hear, and they are very wonderful because he performs very amazing pastimes such as killing the Madhu demon who is trying to disturb Brahma. So these people, they don't take any interest in that. Harati Sansaram Medha Yasya Tasya. Lord is called here as Hari Medhasa, or who takes away the material attachments. So these people, they do not take interest in that, and therefore they remain bound to the material world and suffer here. So I will stop here, and he is going to explain more about these people, and then he will again recommend Bhakti.
So it seems like the power of the like selfish desire or kind of personal desire separate from the Lord is so covers also the knowledge. All these people, they don't have the real knowledge. They can have knowledge, but they cannot get into the...
Yeah, you can see it in the material world also, that if you become very much attached to anything, then you may have all experienced in your life. Even in childhood, if you become attached to having some toy, then your mind is just
there.
Captivated by that. You don't think of anything else. That becomes your life, your world. Everything rotates around that. When you become young, if you are attracted to some boy or girl, then mind just goes around that. And whether you are awake or you are sleeping or you are at work or at school or wherever you are, it just thinks of that. So this is how you become covered.
I have two questions. For example, this is my own experience. When I go to Vrindavan and I can see some corners and this, and my soul connected and I said, I was being here. I know this place, you know. Is this really true that my identity soul came in that place once? And the other one is that, for example, when something is very easy for you, for example, play sitar, you know, like, oh, I have been played this sitar. So I want to know if it's this real that in the past life my soul connected to that.
Yeah, it's not the soul but your mind which has connected, which has experienced it. And because you have experienced in the past and that experience is still stored inside you. So now when that object comes in front of you, that experience becomes activated. It's like a file. So there are many files lying in the computer, but you can activate a particular file with a key. So these things, whether you play sitar or you see a particular place in Vrindavan, and if you have been there or if you have played sitar in the past for a long time, then those impressions are still lying inside. And seeing them or coming in contact with that object or activity now, it stimulates those impressions, samskaras, and that makes you feel that yes, it looks like I was here, this deja vu.
Yeah.
Or if you are doing a particular activity, you can do it easily without much effort because you have also done it in the past. So that's why it happens.
I've never been able to get an answer, a satisfactory answer to this question. I understand about being obsessed with something, having a desire such that it takes you over, and of course you can't pay attention to God. But what about just enjoying pleasure? In other words, I love listening to bhajans and singing bhajan, but there's other very beautiful music in the world. Or if I go to have a meal, it almost seems like I should choose food that is distasteful to me rather than really something that I enjoy.
No, you don't have to choose a distasteful food. The idea here is not tasteful or distasteful. Idea here is to feel whether you are independent of God or not independent of God.
Right.
This is the key point.
Yeah.
So you can have tasteful food and beautiful music, but you relate this with God.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take food, first of all it should be prasada to God. So then you know that, oh, this is nice food, it has been offered and this nice food is coming from God. So if you do like that, then it is not a problem. Problem comes when you think that you are independent and you are the enjoyer. So then it becomes a cause of bondage. But when you relate it with Krishna, then the same thing becomes the cause for you to be liberated.
Yeah, because I've read, Prabhupada is supposed to have said that our senses are like deadly poisonous snakes ready to bite us at any moment. It seems as if you should just close yourself in your room and not enjoy life in any way, shape or form.
No, they are deadly snakes if you are independent.
Okay.
But if you are related to God, then they are very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you serve with them. So same thing can be a poisonous thing. And if it is taken according to the prescription, then it can also become medicine. In Ayurveda, they use even mercury in medicine, which is a poison. It can kill you. So there are many poisons which are used in Ayurveda for curing disease. So that is when you take it in a prescribed manner. So the thing which causes disease can also cure you. But you have to know how to take it. So the same senses which can be like snakes can also be the vehicle for you to reach God.
You mentioned in the beginning that Lord Brahma is the knower of the 4 Vedas. And if I remember correctly, I also read that Lord Brahma, he reads the Vedas 3 times before he felt that he understood. And it says that, so he's read the Vedas, he has full knowledge, so why hasn't he attained bhakti? Why hasn't he taken to the process of bhakti? My concoction or idea of the answer to that is that that is the essential limitation of the Vedas that Narada Muni corrected Veda Vyas about, and that he didn't describe the pastimes of Krishna directly enough. Would that be?
That may be one way of thinking, but other way is that what is described in Bhagavatam is described about a Brahma who is a devotee.
Gotcha.
It's not, this Brahma is a devotee, and there is no question of him not getting out of the material world.
Okay.
So what was said in this particular verses are about some specific Brahmas in some specific universe.
Cool.
Basically, what is the significance of these verses is to show that without bhakti, even Brahma cannot be liberated. It's not a point that there are some Brahmas like this or not. That is not the point. Because when all these examples or stories are given, they have a purpose in explaining, and the purpose is to understand that Brahma is not an ordinary person. It is difficult for us to even imagine how great he is. But even such a person has to come back if he does not have this. So we don't have to analyze whether he has bhakti or he doesn't have bhakti. He is a devotee, at least our Brahma is a devotee. We actually come in his sampradaya, and we will stand nowhere if he is not a devotee. So the point is that without bhakti, no one can get out of the material world, including Brahma. Then what to speak of us who are nowhere close to Brahma. Yes.
I want to know why Lord Brahma, he has 4 heads, right? Why he has 4 heads?
Because he wants to study the 4 Vedas and then teach simultaneously to 4 sages. So he can lecture. Otherwise he will take 4 times. So he can give 4 classes simultaneously.
How can we conquer fear on the spiritual path?
Fear comes because of attachment to the material body. Because we are attached to the body, and then things which are related to body, then we get fear.
And how can we conquer this fear?
We can conquer because we understand we are not the body. That's the talk we are having all the time, that body is a vehicle. It's like you are wearing dress, you are not the dress. Right? You know this. But you can also become attached to the dress. People also become attached to their dress, and they have fear of that, losing that. Fear means when you fear of losing something. That I have something and I will lose it. And we become fearful. So we have this physical body and things which are related with this body. Then we get the fear that we can lose it. Whether we can lose our beauty, our health, our possessions, or we can even die ultimately. But if we understand that I am actually immortal soul and body is temporary, and so are the things around the body. Everything around the body or related with body, they are all temporary. There is nothing permanent here. Everything is changing every second. So if you can understand this, then you will not fear. So fear comes out of ignorance of our own self. That is the root cause of all fears, and then this fear can manifest in many different ways. Fear can also manifest as hatred for others. because you think they are going to cause danger to me, so then you start hating people. Various phobias come because of this. So the root cause is this ignorance of my own self. So one has to become at least theoretical, have a theoretical understanding that I am not the physical body. So as much as you understand and realize, that much you will become free from fear.
And I have one other question. There are some prayers like the 1,000 names of Radha or 1,000 names of Krishna, and it is said that only by reciting these prayers one get liberation. So is it really like this, or?
Yeah, it is really like this, but only thing is that it has to be done properly. These things are said, but they have some strings attached to it, which is not stated there. These statements are not wrong, but there are certain conditions which apply, and those conditions, like many times you see advertisement in the newspaper, they will say, buy a product for this, and in a small thing, very small letters, they will say conditions apply, right? You've seen this? So same thing with this, that they don't even write that conditions apply. So there are certain conditions which apply. So why the advertisement is there? Advertisement is there to attract you, to sell the product. Number one, you may not be interested in that product at all. So they make it attractive to captivate your mind. Number two, you may not even know about the product, so they want you to know about it. These are basic two purposes. So similarly, in the scriptures, there are many things which are like advertisements. These material advertisements, they are based on false promises. Most of them tell lies. The scriptural statements are not lies, but conditions apply. So those conditions they don't write, they are written somewhere else, not in that particular place. Because advertisement is only one page and you have to have certain law of scriptures, you have to read completely. So they write condition in one place and add in another place. They separate them. So these are there so that we become attracted. We don't have any attraction for chanting for God, for doing some spiritual activity. So they say like that, you do this. So this makes you feel interested, you start chanting. And when you're chanting, you may realize that actually what is said here, I'm not getting it. So then you ask question. But by this time you're already hooked onto it. So then you come to know about the conditions. So this is a technique to bring people to spiritual life. But they are not false.
And it's also like this when, for example, it's said when you circumambulate Tulsi Devi 3 times or something, then all the sins are destroyed. But how can this be? Then we have no more karma. How it is?
That's what I'm saying, that conditions apply.
Yeah.
Those conditions you have to understand. And that is, everything is true, it is a fact. But if you satisfy the condition,
I have another question. For example, I want to do something and I'm focused on that all the things that I do belongs to Krishna, and also that I am focused myself. I don't want to do this because I want to do a very accurate, not for not to have bad karma. But sometimes if you do it if you have to have this karma, it's going to happen, even if you are focused that I don't want to do bad karma. Does it happen like that?
Yeah, it can happen.
Uh-huh.
Because our senses are not perfect and we cannot perceive everything. And behind every action there are many causes. We are not the only cause. There are other factors which are influencing it and they are beyond my control. So I cannot control the result. But what we should do is to our best ability we do it, not without any bad intention and with the act of devotion. Then we remain safe. Even if it happens wrongly, it will not harm you or harm your spiritual life. But if you do it wrong intentionally, then it will create
Karma.
bad reaction.
How does the Atman initially get covered?
There is no such thing as initial. It is beginningless.
The covering is beginningless.
Because Atma is beginningless. It was never created, it was never born.
But the avidya is not.
There is also beginningless.
Avidya is beginningless.
Atma is beginningless and avidya is beginningless. Both are beginningless and friendly. Sticking to each other. All right. Hare Krishna.